What was grade school like for you?
Well, I was at two of them up until fifth grade. I was at Warrington Elementary School, which is now, well, it's torn down now. But then I moved out to Crystal. Was quite the switch because at that point I was the only black person in the world, literally. I mean, so moving from where you'd see black people all the time, so to speak, and then all of a sudden there's nobody but my immediate family. That that was kind of a shock. But my dad was pretty headstrong about moving up, so to speak. You know, he had a pretty good job. He took care of his family for many years.
Could we pause for a moment?
Certainly,
Yeah, sorry about that. I just noticed the camera went to sleep.
like grade
Grade
school.
school.
So,
Mm-hmm.
like I say, once we moved to fifth grade, or we moved out to Crystal, it was a totally different world, to say the least. But my dad always had the opinion it's not a black-white thing. For the most part, just be your best, do what you can, and see what happens after that. For that matter, throughout my whole school, anytime there was a form to fill out where it said race, I'd put human on it. From fifth grade up until high school, even on some job applications, well, what difference does that make? You know, race. I just didn't see what the difference was, so I put human on it. Nobody ever said anything about it, so must have been fine.
You weren't lying.
That is true. So, uh, and it wasn't really a hard thing. It was just difficult because well, up until I was 18, I was probably the only black person anywhere I went. Now it's completely different. My block has multiple black families on it, but when we moved in here for the first time, we were it, at least in this particular area that I knew of. From grade school, I was the only one. Junior high, I was the only one. Well, my sister, but she was a couple years ahead of me. High school, I was the only one. I went to computer school, I was the only one. And it's just something you get used to. I didn't look at it like, oh, wow, where's all black people? Never crossed my mind. I just assumed that. And it wasn't really that difficult or racist things going on. I mean, there was some events, actually more when I was older and working, to tell you the truth, than it was when I was in school. Couple of little incidents. I think because I'm more of a light-skinned black. If I was really a dark-skinned black, I truly believe in this school it would have been a different story altogether. But it was kind of, well, you pass, you know what I mean, that type of thing. So
You didn't really face many challenges?
I really did. Well, besides, being noticed, I'd go into a grocery store, for example, and the manager, I'd be looking for something in an aisle, and I'd look, and this manager would pop back behind and I was probably 16, 17, pop back behind the counter, and I'd walk another aisle. Well, there he is again, like keeping an eye on me, is basically what it was. But I really didn't have any major issues. Our house got spray painted when I was in like seventh grade with some various words on the side of the garage. The only time I even knew anything about a whole racist deal was when Martin Luther King got shot. And we actually marched down in Minneapolis. Of course, the whole country did for the most part. But that's the first time I really realized that really people are that bitter. There's that much of a difference that they'd go to that extent. I was 8, 9, 10 years old when that happened. What was it, 68 or 67, something like that. So that kind of shook me up a little bit. I could still remember walking in this march with my dad and my uncle, not knowing why I'm there. They knew what, but